Dementia is a term used to describe the symptoms that occur when the brain is affected by specific diseases and conditions. There are approximately 750,000 people in the UK with dementia, and about 10,000 of them living in Lincolnshire. Peter Johnson suffers from dementia. He lives with his wife Pat, who kindly agreed to speak about Peter's diagnosis.
I first went to the doctors with Peter about 9 years ago, and that's when he was first diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I think when we were first given the diagnosis, we both just buried our heads in the sand and pretended it wasn't happening to us, that there was some sort of mistake. I think most people do that, and we certainly did it for quite a while.
Many of us notice that our memory gets worse the older we get, but it is hard to determine what could be a sign of dementia. Pat tells us what led up to her first having concerns about Peter's memory.
About 9 years ago, Peter got a little bit forgetful. We were watching television, and Peter very often in the evening would go and get us a cup of hot drink. I always had tea, Peter always had coffee. He'd go to the kitchen, he'd come back and he'd say, "What did I go for?" Well, we all do that. But for a couple of weeks Peter did this, and I thought, well, that's not right. Peter had a very high-power job, and I thought perhaps it was stress. And so we decided we'd go to the doctor together, and that's really when we first got on the road to realising it was Alzheimer's. At the beginning, Peter's day-to-day activities weren't affected at all. He carried on working for 2 years. For the last 7 years, it hasn't really affected his life in a great sense. But in the last 2 years, he has started to deteriorate slowly. He's been 9 years with the disease, and really it's only in the last 2 years that he's become a bit more dependent. Peter was driving up until 6 months ago, and he had a yearly examination with the DVLA, and they allowed him to drive each year.
A diagnosis of dementia can come as a real shock and be extremely upsetting. But with a great deal of reassurance and support, life with dementia can still be enjoyable and exciting.
2 years ago, we decided to do a world cruise. It was for almost 4 months. Peter has gone on cruises before, and we've always got on very well, mainly because it's a closed environment and everybody gets to know Peter. We're not shy in telling people that Peter has dementia, and allowances are made for that. My lifestyle has changed in the fact that I've now become a carer, a full-time carer, obviously. Peter needs help and support, taking tablets, clothes to wear, when to do this, when to do that. He still goes shopping and walks to get the paper every day. He still plays an organ, but he does need support, and that's what my role is now. There's no easy answer to helping people who are carers for their loved ones who have dementia. It's hard work, it's frustrating work, but it's also very rewarding when in fact the person that you love or the person that you're supporting with Alzheimer's is able to do something you didn't think they could do.
Additional information, advice and support can be found online by visiting www.nhs.uk. Type Alzheimer's in the search box and click the search button. Or alternatively, visit the Alzheimer's Society website www.alzheimers.org.uk. If you are concerned you are witnessing signs of dementia, visit your GP, and if you are worried that someone close to you is having problems with their memory, then encourage them to visit their GP.
I think your first step once you have got a diagnosis is get in touch with an Alzheimer's Society, get to know what you can and can't have and what you can and can't do. There's support groups out there for you. We have a super support group in South Lincolnshire and we're very lucky. And I think once you've got the diagnosis of dementia, the main thing to remember is it's not a death sentence, it's just a different way of life.